Hi friends, welcome to the Shits and Gigs podcast where we keep the vibe high, the humor gets raunchy, and things get spicy when we talk about food. I'm your host Meg Davis, and we are here for an episode of Bath Bombz, episode 3 in my Base Meal 101 series where I'm breaking down these super simple base meals that you can keep in your back pocket and forever be able to feel confident in cooking and curating a very basic, healthy, well-rounded meal in your kitchen. I am here to empower people to get empowered in the kitchen again and feel proud and fully capable of cooking dishes for themselves that don't take a lot of time or a lot of effort. Tonight, we are going to break down the pasta and meatball meal, which can be triggering for some people because carbs are often the enemy in a lot of people's minds, especially when they're looking to make those healthy changes and finally commit to a lifestyle that makes them feel good all the time. A lot of times, I would say probably 8 or 9 times out of 10 when I sit down with a new client, carbs are still a huge boundary for people when it comes to eating a balanced lifestyle. And don't get me wrong, I do know that people that eat the keto diet and they also do the carnivore diet do have great results. But for me personally, based on research and things, I feel like those extreme diets are more specialized and effective for people who have things like diabetes or autoimmune stuff going on. Your body really responds to the low-carb diet. However, your average Joe person, I guess you can call me average Joe in this scenario, tends to thrive when you incorporate those carbs in your routine. So some things to be mindful of, obviously, and we'll dive into that as we get into the topic for tonight. But I figured I always like to do a little life update first. This weekend was pretty busy. It was like the most social we've been in months. We had a little fun gathering on Saturday for our friend. We went to the Jefferson, which is a super fun local speakeasy. Speakeasies are making a comeback, and I'm absolutely loving it for when we decide to treat ourselves and go out for a night. I just love the speakeasy vibe because if they're doing it right, in my eyes, there are no TVs. So you are just encouraged to have, just those deeper conversations with whoever you choose to go out with because there's just a lot less distractions. They often are mixology specified, so there's typically a really awesome lineup of different cocktails and mocktails, whatever you're feeling. And they definitely do a really great job there. I know they're also doing a Halloween party. So if you're into the speakeasy scene, definitely check out the Jefferson it's either Airport Road or Jefferson Boulevard. So definitely check them out. And then we had a beautiful wedding at the Towers for my cousin Nick and his now husband Cody. Very non-traditional, but they did an absolutely amazing job with it. And it was just such a beautiful night. And it was a lot of family and friends that I haven't seen in quite a while. So that was nice to reconnect with some people. And I was just really grateful for some good times because I've been at a point in my life where I feel like I'm being forced to pivot. And for the first time in a very long time, I kind of feel uncertain about my next move. So that's been feeling pretty fucking heavy. And just doing my best to stay true to myself and settle for nothing but good health and happiness and whatever my next pivot is. And it's all right. Your girl's good. We're good. The universe has my back. It always works out. It's just something that's been weighing on me recently. So just like to be real about it, to just show that no matter where you're at or who you are, you're still going through some tough times, even if you are that giggly, silly girl the majority of the time. But let's dive into the meal for tonight. We're going to talk about pasta and meatball. We're going to dive into our Italian roots here. I love carbs. Carbs are energy. If you need to heal your relationship with carbs, just hone in on the fact that carbs digest into energy stores. And if you incorporate carbs and you've been low carb for a while and your body's just not responding to the low carb life, you're feeling fatigued, or your muscles are really tight and sore because maybe your lifestyle, like I said, the no carb thing, very great for specific bodies and scenarios. However, I'm a firm believer that incorporating carbs is a necessity for the average person because carbs convert to that energy. Some things to be mindful, though, when it comes to carbs, because our world, especially in the U.S. right now, is so hard. It's so hard to be mindful, and it's so hard to be healthy because there are just more and more studies and things coming out that our food is just tainted with all of these additives and preservatives and things that are not good for us. So it can be scary to explore new food groups if it's something you're not already doing, because it already seems overwhelming to introduce something new. And then you now are potentially being mindful of these additive things that are in our foods. So it's just very overwhelming to think about, to switch things up and incorporate something like carbs if it's something you're not used to and you're looking to introduce. So here are a couple little tidbits, very basic and easy to keep in mind. When it comes to carbs, you want to be mindful of added sugars. Breads and things of that nature are one of the biggest culprits, along with like yogurt, oats, and what's the other one? Yogurt, oats, granola. All of those things, including pastas and breads, are severely guilty of added sugar. So definitely check out the label. If it's more than 10 grams of sugar, even that's kind of high. I tend to probably say below 5 grams of sugar when it comes to especially a bread of any kind. You want to be careful of that because things are loaded with sugar, especially the healthy alternative options, to just make them taste better and to get our body addicted to it, as all of the things are that have all these crazy additives in it. You also want to be mindful of any gluten sensitivity. So if carbs have been already incorporated, but maybe you feel bloated when you consume carbs, it might be worth considering going for a gluten-free option, because if you've noticed that your body doesn't react well when you eat pasta and things of that nature, you just get really bloated and uncomfortable, or maybe it binds you up a little bit, you might want to attempt a gluten-free option, because they're clearly, I always am a firm believer also that any symptoms and signs that don't feel normal and right, it means there's something or like an imbalance in your body that needs adjusting and needs to be tended to, because something that you're doing is causing this symptom. So exploring gluten sensitivity is always a great option if you want to incorporate carbs but you feel like your body hates them. And kind of tiptoeing back to the added sugars, if there's anything ever, whether it's pasta, soda, whatever that says sugar-free or whatever free, be mindful of that, because oftentimes the alternative has something added in it that is harmful to your body. So I think the biggest guilty thing that I've noticed is sugar-free often means they've added in some type of chemical sugar to replace it. So stevia is a great option because it's a natural-based sugar. However, things like aspartame, or I want to say it's sucralose. Don't quote me on the other one. I'd have to look into it again. But aspartame is a biggie that has been linked and proven to cause cancer when consumed in excess. So that is a huge one that you want to pay attention to on the labels. But yeah, just be mindful if it says like free of anything, because if it's fat-free, sugar-free, in order to make it free of that item, they have to replace that item with something else to not mess up the flavor or the way your body digests, but also like the way it sticks together. So if it's fat-free and it's a cheese, that's gonna change the chemical property of that cheese. So they have to do something else with that cheese to make it fat-free. So just be mindful of those things when looking at your labels. All right, I think that's enough fun facts. Let's move on to actually building this meal. So even though pasta and meatballs sounds pretty standard and there's not a lot of versatility to it, there is more versatility than you'd imagine. So this is a great base meal if you know you need a carb boost, because we're obviously using the pasta as our base, so that's a huge boost. And then you can kind of cater this dish otherwise, depending on what you need for your protein and your fats. So let's start at that pasta base. You have the options of just like a regular old pasta. Again, be mindful of added sugars. There's different protein pastas now. There's like chickpea or lentil-based pasta that tends to be a little more protein. There's whole wheat. There's veggie infused. There's lots of different options. So you choose whatever pasta and carb base that you would like. So depending on, again, be mindful of the other macros that you need in your day, depending on what you've logged and what you're aware of. So If you just need that solid carb boost, go for regular. You could do the whole wheat or the veggie infused. But if you're behind on your protein, try out one of those alternative options like the Bonza or the chickpea base. There's red lentil. And then from there, we can pick our protein. So the meatball, there's not just beef anymore. We have lots of options. You could do beef meatballs. You could do bison, which is kind of like that beefy taste, but a little less fat. You could do turkey or chicken if you need less fat. And I like to obviously I'm mindful of my macros, but I tend to choose the meatball based on the other things that I build around the dish, because I feel like with like a solid gravy, red sauce, I love like a beef or like a red meat. And then for maybe a lighter option, if I do like an olive oil or butter with Parm cheese, I feel okay about going for like the lower fat meatball. First off, because it's covered in butter and cheese, so I want to be mindful of not having it be super high in my fats by going for the lower fat meatball option. But I don't know, I just feel like the white meat option pairs better with that. So yeah, just play around with what type of meatball is catering to your goals for the day. And then as far as veggies go, I feel like I always lean towards the nice hearty leafy greens when it comes to a pasta dish. Things like broccoli, spinach, kale, basil often are either sauteed or steamed, depending again on the macros and if I can afford the fat for the olive oil or whatever I want to saute in. And worst comes to worst, my go-to move, I know steaming in the microwave can deteriorate some of the nutrients of your vegetable. However, it's a convenient option, and steaming or whatever in water completely we went to some cooking show thing so we could get a free wedding band for my husband. And they talked about steaming your vegetables in this certain pot where the vegetables actually don't hit the water, because when you soak your vegetables in the water, it essentially drains all of the nutrients. So I guess another tidbit, ideal option is to either steam like in one of those metal steam baskets where your vegetables are out of the water, or baking them in the oven can also be an option to get ideal nutrition value out of your vegetables. Or sauteing them in the pan if you have the fats to spare is definitely a yummy option. And fun fact not for frozen, but for vegetables, frozen vegetables are often a much more cost-effective option, and they're typically picked at their prime when they're being flash frozen. So that is a cheaper option. However, there are some vegetables you'll find that you just don't enjoy when it comes from the frozen. Like when it comes to wanting like a charred effect on my vegetables, I don't typically go the frozen route because they have to defrost, and I don't know, they're just like more watery, obviously, naturally, if they're frozen. So if you're going for that like caramelized, sauteed vibe, unless you like defrost and drain that fluid, you're not really going to get that from a frozen vegetable. So be mindful of that too. I guess if cooking in the kitchen is something completely new, that's something that you might want to keep in mind. And all right, so we did the pasta, we got the meatball and veggie, and now let's talk about the sauce. We have the gravy, or as our Italian roots call gravy. For those who are not Italian, this is also like a red sauce. So that is great if you're going for just like a basic pasta and meatball dish. There's a bunch of different varieties. You can get like a zesty sauce where it's like has a little spice to it. You could do mushroom. There's meat sauce. There's a bunch of options. Again, be mindful of added sugars, especially in sauce. That's also a guilty additive for that type of thing. You could do grass-fed butter or olive oil with some Parmesan cheese. That's a really like savory, yummy option. Maybe some hot honey on top to break it up. You can do Alfredo, pink vodka sauce. And then I'm going to give you my recipe for my pumpkin Alfredo, because that was just unreal and it was so easy. So for my pumpkin Alfredo, all I did was in my blender, I did 1 full jar of an Alfredo sauce. Again, be mindful of your ingredients. Try and make sure there's not any weird additives. And then I did 1/2 cup of pumpkin puree and a dash of sage and cinnamon. Blended it until it was smooth, and then I poured that over a dish with some sauteed spinach. And I believe we did chicken sausage that night. But oh my gosh, so good, so savory, and you can kind of just use that sauce to boost any dish to make it a little more seasonal for this fall season. Definitely recommend whipping that up at some point and giving that a try. So yeah, when it comes to the pasta and meatball dish, know that the pasta is going to give you that nice carb boost. However, you are fully empowered to take control over the fat and protein macros of your dish by just embracing these different options that you have available when it comes to switching things up and being mindful of what things are made up of and how you want to kind of puzzle it together for this dish. This base meal will hopefully help you heal your relationship with carbs, because carbs, like I said, are still very triggering for people. And like I said, I'm not hating on carb-free diets. However, for the Joe Schmo, you need your carbs. They're energy, they're healthy, they got your back. Don't think they're going to ruin your life. That's just your 90s propaganda in the back of your head telling you that carbs are not your friend and you need to eat no carbs to lose weight, when in reality, that's not true. If you're interested in figuring out exactly how many carbs your body specifically needs, definitely hit me up on my Instagram, DM me at megdavis.healthcoach, and I'd be happy to calculate your macros for free if you send me a message and say pasta and meatballs, because I'll know you listen to this, and I'm only gonna do it for free for people that have plugged into this episode. So I would love to calculate your personalized macros so we can help empower you in the kitchen and have you feeling your best. Feel free to reach out and DM pasta and meatball for me to calculate those macros for you. And then, yeah, guys, let me know if you give this base meal a try. I'd love to hear from you to see how you piecemeal this one together for yourself to feel amazing and hit your macros for the day. Let's wrap this thing up with a wellness mocktail. I am going to highlight the new Herbalife tea that just launched out. It was so yummy. It is a Passionfruit Hibiscus tea, and it's an NRG blend, which NRG stands for Natural Raw Guarana, which is an herb that has a ton of benefits when it comes to mental clarity and focus. It's also a lower caffeinated energy option, which is great. The flavor profile was like sweet with like a hint of floral. It wasn't too florally. I'm not a huge flower person when it comes to my drinks, but this was very good. We paired it with the cranberry or mango aloe. We found the mandarin was like a little too sweet because the tea itself was sweet by itself. So adding the tartness from either the mango or cranberry was a chef's kiss. So if you'd like to try this out, come swing by Elevated Nutrition. We're there Monday through Friday, 6:30 to 2:30, or Saturdays 8 to 1. Sundays are for family, so we're at home and we are closed. Or if you want to try that at home, I'd be happy to price that out for you. And same thing, DM me on Instagram at megdavis.healthcoach, and I'll be happy to hook you up. All right, friends, that's all I got tonight. Eat your carbs. Carbs are energy. I love carbs. Thanks for listening. Bye.